Hey all, it's Mooch and my $3 reading glasses. Let's see if I can get this set up here so I can look at chat. Okay. Hope everyone's doing okay. It's finally warming up a little bit here. And I'll be able to check if there's, of course, the volume down. Okay. Hey all. We are up. Got the lighting in different places with different light stands. I can see I've got some hot spots on the board. I'll have to deal with that somehow at some time. But in the meantime, one nice thing, well, actually not really, but redoing the wiring harnesses for the high current runs in the new testing station, which means I can vape because the equipment's turned off. So that'll be nice. Don't need that going because the fans aren't running in the equipment. So I've got the Minikin V2 with Goon 1.5, and I'm running some of the Paradigm's Wicked Berry, which I like, and the Vanilla Killer is fantastic. Let's see, any issues with my audio? No one's saying they can't hear me, so it should be okay. Give everyone a second or two. Please, if you come in, or anyone in chat, if anyone else comes in, odds of me seeing your question are pretty low unless you put Better Mooch in front, so it shows up in red for me. And any links or any tables or anything you want to know about, just links are in the description already. And we can see if we start to get any questions. And yes, someday when I grow up, I will be rich and famous and I'll be able to afford non-$3 reading glasses. But you know, I can put 6 of these around the apartment so I don't have to go looking for them ever. And when I break one a week, which is what I do, I'm not worrying about ruining, you know, frames and expensive lenses and stuff. So it's worked out. And it's just, you don't go into a bar looking for a date wearing these. Jeannie Hensel, any good 21700s? Not right now. And I'm going to have to find a way to get this closer to me. Yeehaw. Found some like $10 grips and $10 light stands, so I don't have the tablet duct taped to a piece of metal, duct taped to a box, duct taped to a ladder anymore. I've got a $12 holder, but then I realized all the other crap that needs to be up near me. Pulled out one of my light stands from years ago and got some stuff up here, but I'm going to try it out. So let's see if we can get to some questions. Anyway, Jeannie Hensel, good 21700s. They're not great ones available yet. Very high capacity, low power level if you're down at 20 watts each or something like that, 40 watts in a dual battery mod. But right now, no, not yet. Now, when Samsung 30T, 40T, 50G, some of these other cells come out, 50G only being like a 10 amp battery, but 5,000 mAh, then we've got some great options, but a couple more months, I think, for that. JFL, the day trader, why don't 18650s come with a permanent outer cover like an A or AA battery? One of our inconvenient truths. They are 18650s, 26650s, all the cells we use were never meant and are strongly advised against being used outside of a protected, fully protected battery pack, physically and electrically. So they come out of the bulk box, they're spot welded together, and they're put into a battery pack, and that's it. So they don't need good wraps. It doesn't matter if the connections are right next to each other at the top. We take a risk every time we use these batteries because we're using them in a way they were never meant to be used. And a lot of the mod makers don't care or aren't willing to make the changes in their devices to be gentle on the wraps. There are all kinds of compromises you make. Gentle on the wrap means not as good a connection, which means more heat. There's a lot of give and takes, but things can get better, but who knows when. AKEL, are the home tech cells worth the higher price point? Well, the 26650, no, 2700 I just tested. Oh, anyway, one of those big ones, the homegrown. Excuse me, Sherlock Holmes. Yeehaw, boy, haha. I need to add caffeine to this, I think. The Sherlock Holmes cell. It was better than the iJoy 4-leg, but not as good as any of the iJoy 5-legs or some of the Vap Cell 3100, which is a great cell. And the home life is about the same as the Samsung 30Q, and the home work is about the same as the HE2. Now, the 30Q is a decent cell, but do you want the home tech for more money? And the HE2, it's an okay performing cell, but there are maybe a half dozen 18650s that perform a lot better. So do you want to pay more for an HE2 equivalent? And that'd be up to you. Hazardita, are batteries that are dropped off for recycling actually dismantled and recycled into new items, or just disposed of? I don't know, and I bet you a lot of it has to do with your local municipality. They would have to, no individual city or anything can recycle batteries. They would all have to be gathered up and shipped to a dedicated plant that does that. Now, I know for car batteries they do that because they recycle the lead, but I don't know if they're just grinding them all up, taking out the steel, and then recovering the lithium. There's very little, or the cobalt and the manganese. I don't really know. That's actually a good question. I should check into that. Chenchalog, if I want to use a 0.7 to 0.9 ohm coil on a mech, what would be the best battery to use? Run the Ohm's law equation. I'm always going to tell someone, you have to know that. See how much current you're going to draw. Check my recommended batteries list. Find a battery with at least that rating, current rating, and then pick the highest capacity for that, and you'll end up being pretty good. Now, you've got some pretty good options at that higher resistance. You can probably use some of the higher higher capacity batteries for you. Minding Your Moz, my YouTube series, episode 2 will deal with how to calculate battery current for that. Magazine Art, vaping in your testing room now? Well, I said, if the equipment is off, that's okay. The fans aren't on, drawing stuff in, and I'm not going to vape really heavily because I am cooking soon, but it's nice to be able to do that while I'm talking for an hour here, because I'm a stressed vapor. I was a stressed smoker, and this is actually surprisingly stressful. Enjoyable, but stressful. So it's nice to be able to vape too. I don't know better. That's a cool name. Better Mooch, have you always been awesome, or did you have to work at it? No, see, I pay people to do that somehow. Eric Ginger. Now I can't see the screen. Eric Gingras, is there a real way to find your battery is there a real way to find if your battery is in need of a retirement? We're all in need of a retirement. Loss of performance. It doesn't last as long before you get a low battery alert, or you can see in a charger that tells you the mile going back into the battery. If you see that dropping off heavily, yeah, maybe time to replace the battery. Typically, you'll just get really pissed off at the battery. Now, if it starts running hot and you haven't changed any of the power levels, then yeah, it's time to retire the battery. But typically, it'll be a big loss in runtime before the battery starts running hot. James Pennell, or is it Pennell? Hi, Pennell. When storing batteries long-term, should they be discharged to a certain voltage, not fully charged? Correct. Anywhere roughly half voltage, around 50%. 3.6 volts, 3.7, 3.73, 3.7258, 3.7259, 591. That's like my favorite voltage. Anything roughly half full is fine. Check on them every couple of months. Bring them up to that same half full point if they're discharging down at all. Batteries hate being stored though. It's better to rotate through 20 batteries than to use 10 and store 10. SK Sheth, best 18650s for high wattage vaping. Well, what's high wattage for you? How many batteries in the mod? A lot of questions to answer. Check out episode 3 of Minding Your Moz, my YouTube series. Recommended batteries are there. My recommended batteries table. Link to my blog at ECF is in the description. Recommended batteries table. You can pick what current level you need, and the wattage equivalents are down at the bottom of the table, and find the battery that best fits what you want to do. But it's hard to beat the VTC5A for 25 amp and under. For 20 amps and under, you can LGH G2, VTC6, Samsung 30Q. Tactical Tupperware. Everyone should have a set. I have an AL85, a single 18650 that goes 85 watts. Can I use the VTC5A safely, even if the math is working out that I may need something more than 30 watts? Well, you can run a VTC5A at 75 watts. 90 watts if you don't like it hot, but 75 watts otherwise. So if you're under 75 watts, you're fine with the VTC5A. It'd be a good choice up at that higher level. Single batteries are crap performers above 50, 60 watts. They're really inefficient. Single 18650, a good performing 18650 at 30 amps, like an HB6 or VTC5A running at its absolute limit, wastes 18 watts inside the battery. Inside the battery before it even gets out, and all the other losses inside the mod. So it's a terrible way to use a battery, but we want smaller mods. We want the convenience. But try VTC5A up to 25 amps, 75 watts. William Liebenberg, opinion on the EBAT 18650. I think I might have tested one, typical exaggerated rating, rewrap. Maybe they're going to China cells, but I think I've only, oh wait, no, I tested their large cell. Haven't tested them at 18650s. Check link in the description for any questions you have about batteries. Go to my blog at ECF or my Mooch Facebook page, get my 18650 ratings table, and you can see the rating, or you can see which batteries I tested and the ratings for all of them. Srishan, hey dude, now CHF, what is the F? But thank you, 10 of them, I appreciate it, thank you very much. Hello. Scrolling down, skipping anything without battery mooch at the beginning. Pure heroin. That's clever with the E, I like that. I bought a Vapcell 2650 from one of your recommended suppliers. Excellent. Well, I hope you're happy with it. Hope it works out and matches the way you're vaping, and you're having a good time with it. Battery mooch from Mike Sem. Chem or Sem? I'll try Sem. Have you ever used liquid insulation tape, and is it good? Yeah, I use the oh, what is it? GC Chemtronics or GC Electronics? What they call liquid varnish or something. I used red glipped, but I've used the liquid electrical tape, and it works. It takes a long time to cure, but if you have really rough shaped things, it can work. Silastic or an RTV compound can be better for some things, but if you need a thin layer, it's mostly there for high dielectric strength. Namely, if something higher voltage, you don't want to get shocked. If you need a thicker layer, then use maybe electrical tape and you seal it with the liquid. Different variations there, but there are different places that it works and doesn't work. But prepare to put it on and walk away for an hour. Scrolling down a bunch. Hualani, I'm safe, old fart using Provari, House of Hybrid, ZNA, and getting 18650 button tops is impossible. Ideas for 6 months? I'd like not to be told new mods. Well, you can buy used mods. Okay. Try IMR, www.imrbatteries.com, and I think even lithium-ion wholesale. They have button-top versions of some popular cells. And I think I just saw a post from lithium-ion wholesale, www.liion. Wait, the link's in the description for my favorite vendors. And the 30Qs and some other batteries, they have available in button-top versions, and that may be a good option that could work for you. Vape heads. My iJoy 2700s will not fit in a mod. Are those wraps thicker? There's a seam on the wraps too. They have a thick wrap, which everyone wants but causes problems. And a lot of designers for mods ended up picking one particular 2700 and not, anyway, I'm not gonna go into that rant. Yes, but they also have a seam on the wrap that can cause a problem. And the seam is irregular in shape and size, so some of them are 0.5 millimeter smaller, 0.5 millimeter bigger. Are they the same size as Sanyos? Sanyos are a touch smaller. The wrap is thinner, which is why people don't like, Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic wraps as much, and not quite as durable, but it may fit in your mod if you can find the Sanyos. Apocalypse Survivor. I wish your 18350 table got a reboot. Timeline? Never. Never say never. It's timing. I get 75 requests a day for 18650s, 30 to 50 requests a day for 20 millimeter cell tests, and 2 a month for 18350 tests. So it's the squeaky wheels get greased. It's if I'm going to take 2-3 weeks to test 18350s, that's an awful lot of the other stuff that's being requested most often be tested. But I'm hoping to find ways, I'm working on ways actually to get more time to be able to do that. Test 18350s and just get all of them on the market, spend 3 weeks, test them all, boom, new table for a year. and try to do it that way. But timeline, right now, I have none, I'm sorry. Gary Kemp, any news on the Ohm Life batteries? In terms of their performance, or when I'm testing them, I don't know. Performance, the last time I looked at them, they used to be based on the LG HG2. Now they appear the same as the Samsung 30Q. So I have to do some more testing for that, hopefully in the next couple months. I would say next couple of weeks, but there's so much going on. There is so much going on behind the scenes, and you'll hear some things in the next couple of weeks. It's no big drama, nothing bad. There's just some announcements to make and stuff like that. I really like this. The Nillikilla and the Paradigm's Wicked Berry, I really like that. Pure Heroin, do you think some cheap, no-brand eBay batteries are second-hand rewraps? A rewrap of a rewrap of a battery? I'm sure a lot of eBay batteries are rewrap. Well, if they're not Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic, Sanyo, technically you could say they're rewraps. But I guess a China manufactured cell that was never wrapped and then wrapped by someone on eBay, that could be wrapped. But eBay and Amazon, wow, you're really playing with your luck there. Some very reliable people, and a lot of people have gotten fakes. Tim Coleman, hey, if I were coming your way. Awesome. Brad Mooch, have you opened up the Home Tech batteries to check if they are different? No, I haven't, but I was thinking of doing that once I do my 3,000 mile teardown, which has been sitting here for 5 days waiting for me to have time to do that. But I figured, you know, then I could open up a Home Life and see if it looked like the HG2 or the 30Q. That'd be kind of interesting. Akelt, do you think the IR sensor on the Osmotis Lustro is gimmicky or innovative? Why don't I just say innovative? You know, who am I trying to be? Your dry humor cracks me up, by the way, lol. What dry humor? I haven't seen the IR sensor used enough. I think if implemented, that's only 4 syllables, properly, it could be really cool. It's using these things subtly and carefully to add to the experience and not be a substitute, like RGB LEDs. Well, okay, that's great. You know, and some other things, a swipe on here, which I kind of like. Just having the one button, you know, makes for a nice tiny mod. Innovative? No. But useful and interesting and stuff? Yeah, I think so. As long as they did it properly. But I haven't played with it, and I haven't seen a video yet. I haven't watched the videos for the reviews to see how they actually implemented it. I use touch sensing in some of my products, so I think there are places for that, especially if you've got dirt or liquids or anything involved. Zombie Nebula, I love the content. Thanks for all you do for the community. Our 2700's the future of vaping. First, thank you. Second, future of vaping? No. Part of vaping for many, many years? Absolutely. Excuse me. 151 watching, only 50 likes. I guess they don't like it. Or they're so enraptured with the content, they're not even thinking of hitting like. Okay, so maybe they just don't like it. And you know what? A lot of this stuff, and what I'm realizing is there are very, very, very few vapers who want to be educated. You know, it's a specific time where we go, oh, I need to learn this. But they're not going to seek out education. We seek out YouTube for entertainment. You know, hey, I've got some spare time here, spare time there. You know, otherwise it's just a reference. So a lot of my stuff is just not of general interest. There's something you'd like, oh, yeah, I want to learn about battery chemistry in my spare time. No. But if they have a particular question, yes, then here's a resource to go to. So I think a lot of it, that may be a lot of it. But the likes and dislikes are important to me, or the lack thereof, because it helps guide me into what topics are liked or not liked. Like if I see the live Q&As going down in likes every single week, then I'm not going to waste my time doing them anymore. Because the community doesn't find valuable, that's okay. I can do more testing, or I could eat or cook for my girlfriend, or do something else than something which is a waste of time for everybody involved. So it's actually very valuable if people are going, I really don't like this that much, and they don't hit like. To me, it's just as valuable as hitting dislike or sending me a memo or something like that. Let me get through some of these questions. Ooh, how far? 7:13. Whoa, I need to zoom through these. If I miss any of your questions, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of trying to zoom down now and try to catch up before I get too far behind. Ohio Kill 93. I use a pulse box with 0.18. I use a single iJoy 5-leg. Am I pushing that battery too hard? If you're using a mech mod, you must know Ohm's law, how to use it, battery safety, the ratings of your batteries, the true ratings, and the use and maintenance of that mod. I can't tell you. You have to use Ohm's law and calculate. I recommend staying underneath the continuous rating, especially if you're asking me this question. Stay under the continuous 30 amp rating of that battery, but run the Ohm's law equation and make sure you're under 30 amps. Magazine art. What is a China cell? I'm sorry, a cell manufactured in China from one of Long Delhi New Energy company that used to make Aspire cells, or it might still make Aspire cells, as opposed to Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic, and Sanyo, based out of Japan, Korea, Malaysia, and other countries. Vape Toros. I just got a Fuchai 213 Squonk, and even with a fresh battery, it's such a crazy voltage drop, it won't let me go above 30 watts. That sounds like a battery issue. You may have a battery you may have a 10 amp battery in there, so it just instantly drops down. Gleeshy, how many watts would you recommend to me to vape in a mesh RDA? 0.15. Start low and work your way up. Just, you've got to learn what you like and stuff. Start it at 20 watts then. 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and see where you like it. Where's your sweet point? A lot of it depends on your wicking. That has to be brutally consistent in order for you to start testing this stuff. And your coil's resistance, you say is 0.15, so just make sure your batteries and everything, well, how many watts are you on a regulated mod? Start low and work your way up. That's the best way to learn it, because I can't say, because the way I vape is could be utterly, completely different the way you vape. And to be honest, what juice you use can have a big effect too. A hot summer day, I might be down at 55 watts, because with a mint that I can taste, even though it's cool, because the last thing I want are hot lungs full of vapor when it's 92 and humid, but on a cold day and have a nice rich custard, at 120 watts, oh, it's amazing. Robelios Ocampo, how is the Sanyo 2700A? Very good, one of the best batteries out there. Because I have that battery, but there's like a grind on the negative and positive sides of the battery. Is it okay to use? That is a battery that was recovered from a power tool battery pack. Is it okay to use? I don't have the slightest idea. It depends completely, and I don't mean that in any insulting way to you. It just means I can't possibly know. It was hand harvested, the spot welded tabs snapped off, and the ends ground smooth, or they left the marks there. So it's entirely on how good a job they did in recovering it, or what the condition of the battery was. Was it new? Was it used? I don't know. You got it from a trusted vendor. Did you know that you bought a harvested battery from that vendor? Did that vendor tell you that? I hope so. Dave Ferrante, if I open up my Milwaukee battery pack, will I have VTC5 inside? VTC5As inside? Only if it's made with VTC5As. I have no idea. I don't track which battery packs use which cells. It's just so easy to go buy them, as opposed to pulling them out, snapping off the spot welds, grinding them smooth, etc. and so forth. So I don't know. I don't know what which cells they're using, and it could change based on which Milwaukee pack you get. East Bay Angler, what are your thoughts on bus bar batteries? Haven't been able to find anything. Haven't had any requests to test them. I tested one, I think, a couple of years ago. Haven't tested them recently. Just don't know anything about them now, what cells they might be using. Teo Resor, what is the difference if we use negative top or negative down in a mech? Well, in one way, if the wraps are bad, you get an instant short circuit, and the other way, you get an auto fire situation if the wraps are bad. Follow the manufacturer's directions. That's all I can say on that, because it depends on contact shape, condition of your wraps, the safety features for the mech. Electrically, there's no difference at all, unless there's some radical contact shape that touches different sides of the batteries in different ways, but I don't think I've seen that. Ryan Wilson, should I rewrap or dispose my batteries when the wraps get torn and the safety spacers fall out? Well, certainly don't use them. Rewrap, absolutely. You don't have to dispose of them if they're otherwise in perfect condition. You know, if they're not all dented up, corroded from juice getting underneath, but you have to put the ring back in and do the wrapping carefully. Tony Mitchell, can you explain heat and how it is calculated in coils? Check out, we would need about 50 hours for that, and I don't understand enough of it to be able to explain it to somebody else, because I'm barely grasping all its implications myself in terms of heat flux and surface area and all that kind of stuff. You can check out Morton Owen, O-E-N, M-O-R-T-O-N, space O-E-N, YouTube channel, but also check out steamengine.org and use their calculator to get an idea of what different wires generate in terms of heat flux. And you can start to see relationships by putting in different numbers. Just a second. Sorry, I had to attend to something. Simon Lindley, what are the best 26650 for the Geek Vape Aegis? I think like the Golisi, the iJoy, 26650s aren't great cells. They're good ones. There's some good ones. Check my recommended batteries table. Go to my blog at ECF or my Mooch Facebook page. Grab my recommended batteries table. I think it's the iJoy, the Golisi, and what, the VAP cell? Or the iJoy and the Golisi at least. But 3 cells, 2 or 3 cells are exactly the same. 2 or 3 batteries use the exact same cell. And you can get any of those. 30 amp, 4200, 4300 mAh. And they're shorter batteries too, so that's great. You need that for the Aegis. Now, the Golisi, I think, was the one that was shipped with some of the Aegises too. So that one, you can just try to find that one. William Liebenberg, opinion on tube McMahon clones versus authentic. I think all of us have bought a clone at some time and then formed an opinion whether we're going to continue to do that or not. There's some good mech mods out there that aren't clones. You know, I've got the iconic on the Machina, and I like it. I love the look. And I don't think there's a need to, unless, you know, if there's no technical performance need to go to a mech because the, a Condor clone, because the real ones are too expensive. You can get decent performance in the clones, but there are also some very unsafe mechs. So it's very hard to generalize. For me, it's like, buy genuine, because you can get a genuine China mech or genuine, you know, made in China but distributed through a US company mech. That's perfectly fine, performs well, and it at a great price. There's no, if you say, well, you know, I want this $300 mod, but I can't afford it, so I'm going to get the clone. Okay, well now you're saying you just want the look of that mod, and you're probably taking a risk in terms of safety and features, but so much of that's mod specific. But for me, I'm like, don't buy the clones. There's just no need to. I understand what people do, but boy, look around and check what else is available. Passion for Smoke Top Z Star. How long can I leave a low built-in battery in my CoolFile 4 before charging it again? That depends how low it goes. Let's say you vapor down to 0%. You might get weeks, you know, but I'd say, you know, throw it on the charger for 10 minutes even. Just bring it back up a little bit, because most of these shut off at like 3.2 volts or something like that, somewhere around that area. So you've got weeks, maybe months, it depends on the mod, before that drives down. Like the Dot mod 200, what was it, 5 months for about a half charge battery to be fully discharged. So maybe it was fully discharged, excuse me, down to like 0 voltage. I mean, trashed battery. So maybe you got a month, 2 months total, but it depends on the mod. But I'd say if it's more than a couple weeks, find a way to put a few minutes of charge in it at least. Scott Bogfoot, if someone is into collecting mods or have had old mods they don't throw away and they have internal batteries in them, what should that person do? Every couple of months, just bring it back up to like 50%. Some, you know, what they call a storage voltage, somewhere in that range. You know, if you leave them for a year and you come back and the mod won't turn on, it's toast. Replace the battery if you can. If it's a box mod with a rectangular lipo and it's used as serviceable. Otherwise, it's gone. Don't try to bring back an internal battery mod that's the battery's drop below 2.5 volts or below 0% for a long time. Hey Kel, do you have any hobbies outside of vaping and testing batteries? Well, yeah, runner, rock climber, and the electronics development work I do is actually my hobby. I'm lucky enough to have that as my day job and get paid essentially to do my hobby, so that's awesome. If I wasn't being paid for that, I'd be building stuff anyway. But I was an avid rock climber. That's tailed off some as you get older, medical issues and things like that. And running is kind of my therapy. Tried wine tastings and beer tastings and scotch tastings. That was a dangerous evening. So I kind of enjoy that. We have a circle of friends. We like to do that because we all like to cook. A lot of times it's about pairing it with particular alcohols because we like to drink too. And so a lot of different things. I don't enjoy just sitting around watching TV all the time. I love learning and doing things, being physical. That's always fun. And keeps the weight down and lets you eat anything you want too. Let's see something. Whoa, let me get through some of these quickly. Who's my vaping YouTuber? No favorite. You know, I like, you know, the vape teams and Mike Vapes and Morton Owen for content and some of the technical content. DJ Elsby, P. Basardo. You know, I'm subscribed to about 125 different channels. So I don't have a favorite. It kind of depends. Am I shopping for a mod? Ooh, then the reviewers, you know, are it. If I'm just looking for technical info, I might have a different review favorite then, but no single one. Enjoy a lot of the different content, some for entertainment purposes, some for more technical content. Peter M. I have a VTC4, never used it at more than 60 watts in a regulated mod. When I put it in a charger, it says null. Any ideas? No, except try a different charger. Try it in a mod. Because it may be a charger problem, may not be the battery, but I don't know why. It sounds like you're not reaching the contacts or the battery's dead. If you have a multimeter, a voltmeter, check the battery voltage. Make sure it's above 2.5 volts. If it's below, replace the battery. Kevin Williams, is it safe to have 2 wraps on a 2700? Well, it's not even safe to use these batteries. Safe. It doesn't add any extra danger unless that makes the battery big enough to have the wraps ripped by the mod you're trying to jam it into. So on its own, no, it's not a problem. But if it causes other problems, yeah, that can be dangerous. Some mods are so tight, you don't want these batteries jammed in against each other or scraping against the side of the mod. So you'll have to test it out. But it can help in protecting the battery if you've got the room in the mod. Jim Farron, you demand, thank you. Thank you. Jed Marino, the attitude needs to change. Every vape user should watch your videos. Maybe the hobbyists are more into the side of it. Yeah, we're a very tiny percentage of vapers. Most just want to vape, man. Just tell me what battery to use. God damn it. And I get it. And that's what I try to do, the recommended batteries table, or just answer it. But I also believe strongly in educating, because that will answer, you know, educating a person why you picked this, or hey, check out that video. Now you can answer the next 10 questions you might have and never have to track me down or ask anybody else, because you'll already be able to answer it yourself. What is it? Don't give a man a fish, teach him how to fish. But that's a really long-term strategy, and a lot of people just don't want that. They just want to know what battery to use, and I get it. Mike Vapes, dude, thank you. Thank you very much. That was awesome, Mike. Thank you, sir. Wow. Yeehaw! I could buy a beer this month. Thank you. Holy shit. Totally lost track of where I was. Michael Babich, I think every vapor should watch your channel, learn at least the basics. Thanks for everything you do. Thank you. And I've had some fun doing it. It's hard to find the time. You know, like I said, but this 3000 mAh breakdown, I've had it set up here for 5 days, and I haven't had the time to film anything. But thank you. Apocalypse Survivor, dude, thank you for the donation. Earmarked coffee money. Absolutely. And I'm going to take the girlfriend out. I think we'll do the coffee pastry thing on you. Is that okay? Get something really, really bad for us and a really perfectly brewed pair of coffees. Actually sounds really good now. I think I need to find... I've got Mike Vape's Razhole here that I've got going with his Iconic and on the Machina, but I may have to get the Glory Hole and get a little coffee action going. Vape Invader, excuse me, Vap Invader. Vap Invader? Vapinator. Vap Invader. How are you today? And hello from the UK and a fellow YouTuber. Hello. Thank you for watching the show and being in chat. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for the support, too. I don't say this often enough because this whole thing is just so strange a concept that the people support something you do publicly. I do want to say thank you to everyone who supported me, who donates, who clicks a like or clicks a dislike, because it's still showing, it's still helping me decide what to do. And I want to say thank you very, very much for that. It's still all really weird. I'm an intensely private person, so it's been a process. I can open up and be enjoyable in front of the camera, but there are all these hard lines I'm finding in terms of what I talk about or not talk about and do or not do. And but thank you for being there and for the support everyone's shown for what I do. I really appreciate it. Moving on. Christopher Decker. I know some brick and mortar shops selling batteries not from the big five. However, what's the polite way to tell them to stop trying to make a buck and sell safety first? You can't. You can tell them once, and then that's all you're going to be able to do. You're not going to be able to convert somebody. That's a process of education, a process of what I call education through erosion. You can't just convert them. You have to erode the walls they've put up to say, this is what I'm doing. And you have to slowly eat away at those walls. And it could take 20, 30, 50 visits. And you know, if you just try to toss data at them and blah, 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 people throw up more walls, and you're not going to be able to do anything. It's a long process of education instead of conversion. And I usually say it's just not going to happen. You can let them know how disappointed you are and that you're not going to be able to shop there anymore because of their battery choices. That gets people's attention, but that's not always convenient. Okay, scrolling down here, let me start to catch up. 727, whoa, still way behind. 727 on the time stamp for the questions I'm at. Can you explain how heat, Tony, I thought I talked about that. Steamengine.org for heat flux and all that kind of stuff. But I talked about this before. Huge topic, and I don't know enough about it to teach other people about it, other than our coils get hot and we suck in the aerosol. Like this. Bill Richards, the Segale Squonk mod is wildly overstated. Okay? I don't mean to be insulting. I wasn't sure if there was a question there or not, and I couldn't figure out if there was. Al Arias is a 0.1 build safe, 0.11 build safe on an EVES 2700 30 amp battery with a pulse kit. You have to learn Ohm's law before you ever use a mech. This is your safety we're talking about. There's no safety on these mechs. You need to know Ohm's law, battery safety, the true ratings of the batteries you want to use, how the mod works, and how to maintain it properly. Run the Ohm's law equation for the build you have and the rating of that battery. You can check the ratings if I tested them through the links that I have in my description. Don't use that mech until you know how much current you're drawing from that battery. This is your safety. And you need to be the one, we all need to be the ones completely in charge of our own safety. We can't just let someone else run our safety for us. Michael Babich, what is that heat flux on steam engine, please? I don't fully understand that unit. Check all the tabs. Go through Steam Engine. It's an incredibly valuable tool. There may be other tools now available, online tools, but check steamengine.org and go through all the tabs and explore, you know, the powers, the resistance calculations, the wire, heat flux, and things like that. But the term you want to look up is heat flux. You may be able to Google that and learn a little bit more. As I said, I just don't know enough about it to be able to teach anybody else about heat flux. Chris Rice, I run my mech with a 0.3 coil. I assume a VTC6 would be a better choice than a 5A since I don't need the amps. Well, as long as you're under, ideally, 15 amp, but 20 amp the absolute most, for that 0.3 build, run the Ohm's law equation, then you could get more life out of the VTC6 than the 5A. But see, the thing is, if you're up at around, let's call it the 15 amp level, that's where the VTC6 starts becoming pretty inefficient, and you're losing capacity because of that inefficiency. And the VTC5A, because it hits harder and is very efficient at 15, 20 amps, may actually run longer than a VTC6. at 15 or 20 amps. I haven't done a direct comparison, so you may have to use both, or you may just go, well, VTC 5A gives me some headroom if I go to a lower resistance coil. I'll use the 5A, because even if there is a difference, it won't be too much. Christopher Multisanti, yes. How long can you leave brand new batteries stored before they start losing capacity? They start losing capacity a microsecond after they're charged at the factory. They age every single day. It's called calendar aging. They age faster if you use them, charge them. They age faster if you discharge them, but they age every single day. Now, that may be 3 years before it's a really noticeable effect, just sitting in the closet, assuming they don't drop to a low voltage and get damaged. I'd say every 2 months. Before they start losing capacity. Maybe after a year, you'd start to really notice a loss of capacity. Batteries are meant to be used. If you have 20 batteries, you only want to use 10. No, use all 20. Just rotate through them all. Don't buy batteries and store them. Richard Hursting, can you please explain a bit on lower ohm effects, battery sag, voltage sag, and mech tube mods resistance, or can you point me where I find the info? I don't have a link for you, but the more current you draw through anything with resistance, the more of a voltage drop there is. So if you've got, now you talk about coils, but then you talk about battery sag and voltage sag. Well, inside a battery is some resistance. And essentially you're losing power through that resistance. It's converted to heat inside the battery. An effect of losing that power, and I'll do a video on this, is a drop in voltage, which is what causes the voltage sag at the battery. You start at 4.2, instantly drops down to maybe 3.5 volts at that kind of, with let's say 0.12 build or something like that. You've lost 0.7 volts inside the battery. In milliseconds, that drop happens. It's not a loss of capacity. It hasn't discharged anything. So that's inside the battery. Now you get more voltage drop from the resistance inside your mod, the connections, button connection, the 510 pin if you have it, but even the connection between the atomizer and in a hybrid connection to the battery itself, all the way up to the posts, even the connection between the posts and the coil is a voltage drop there. It may be millivolts, but if you got 10 different these connections, they all add up. I don't have a good resource on that, but I'll do a video on a lot of it. And the new testing station will have some videos to expose some of that too, because I can pass huge amounts of current through mods and show, hey, here's where the voltage drops are. Jed Marino, battery charger recommendations, please, sometime. I have to find the time. I have an announcement, some ideas about that, but coming up in a couple of weeks, but just no time. I'm completely and utterly overwhelmed with what I'm already doing, and but I'm getting a lot of requests for it, which is why I have something, you know, I wanted to bring up with the vaping community in a week or two. James West, do you recommend electrical grease on mech contacts? That's a really good question. Electrical grease is made for very specific purposes. You know, ultra high current contacts with no arcing and sparking for a lot of them, or sliding contacts where the arcing happens here, but then the grease takes over further on. I want to do some testing on that, and the new gear will let me do that. The time, I don't know, but we'll see what that turns into. Right now, I have no recommendations. There are a lot of other issues. You know, that mech grease is good for sliding contacts. We have point contacts. A lot, well, actually, no, the clutch contacts are sliding. But right now, no recommendations. I'd say stick with what the manufacturer recommends. Ted Williams, how do I know when to retire a battery? We spoke about this earlier. Loss of capacity that pisses you off too much, or it gets too hot, or it's getting hotter without you increasing how hard you use the battery. That could happen in 3 weeks or 3 years. I read something about the resistance of the battery. Well, yes, if you have a way of testing the internal resistance of the battery, which don't use the chargers, none of those are accurate for internal resistance. Use them for counting capacity and checking voltage and stuff like that. But if you could check the internal resistance, yes, but the loss of capacity is much more evident and can be seen clearly much earlier, that you might have a 40% change in capacity for a 15% change in internal resistance. So you're going to see that capacity change a lot earlier and be able to gauge when you want to use the battery or not, or continue using the battery. You know, odds are batteries drop down to 60% of its capacity. You're like, screw this, I'm buying new ones. But there's only a 15% change resistance. And if you just looked at numbers for that, you might go, oh, hell no, I'm not throwing away this battery. Kevin Elliott, is there a safe Is there a safe and accurate way to check or verify the amperage of an external charger? No, you've got to cut leads and put something in line with the current. Do that. This is one of the reasons why I haven't tested chargers, because I need simulated batteries that can drop into a charger and read the current flowing through them. That's a whole nother video. I'll explain that in. No. Other than opening it up and cutting a lead, you can't, the clamp-on ammeters, if you just clamp around, you know, you've got a wire and you clamp around it, they usually don't read very accurately down low. But most of them have been pretty good in terms of their accuracy, but within 5–10%, because the charging current doesn't have to be really accurate. The voltage does. Jason Yu, one bay on my Luke V4 charger shows voltage close to 0.2 volts lower than the other 3 bays. Yeah, stop using that bay. Or assume it's charging okay, but just reading wrong. No assumptions. No. This is our safety. Well, it's not mine, it's your safety, which means you should be really concerned about this. No, get a new charger. If one of the bays is screwing up, who knows? A lot of times they share circuitry across multiple bays. Just don't use the charger. Now, clean the contacts, try different batteries carefully. They're dirt cheap in the end for what they give us, for the length of time they give it to us. I'd say, you know, start thinking new charger. Do I subscribe, Jed Moreno, do I subscribe to Make Magazine? No, I don't. Sorry, I get about 70 some industry publications now, and just reading those. In addition to the online stuff, et cetera, and so forth. Just keeping up with new product releases for the power electronics work that I do for my day job and all. It's practically a full-time job, because everything we know is useless in a year, if not half that. Chris Bray, do you have hair? One, yeah. I bought 50 Samsung 25 hours a year ago. I need your job. I'm using them all in different mods, but all in rotation. How long can I expect them to continue to stay good? I'm hoping you get at least 2–3 years out of that, at least. But it depends fundamentally on how we vape. A battery could last 3 weeks, 3 months, to 3 years. Now I'm approaching, vaping 3 years this week. This week into next week, because it took me 2 weeks to transition. I just realized that. All the batteries I bought, yes, when I started vaping, not a lot, because I already had some 18650s, VTC4s, and 25 hours left over from client testing, but, excuse me, I'm still using them all. Now, I'm not a monster-crazed user, and I rotate through things, but, boy, I hope you get at least a couple years out of them. Mr. Spivey, I have 2 S3 LiPo 1600 mAh batteries, same brand, but one seems to be puffy, the other is tight. Puffy has not been abused. Should I be concerned? Yeah, puffy is excess gas that was created when the battery was abused or otherwise is deteriorating. Retire that pack. Temporary puffiness, when it gets hot, which goes back down, that's okay. It's telling you you're using it too hard. But if the puffiness is permanent, that's a pack that's been damaged and it's time to retire it. Hey, Battery Mooch from JT Edge Reviews. Have you seen the claim made by new IMRED 18650 Leopards? Those things. 50 amp 2600 mAh and the 40 amp 3000 mAh was in an email. Yeah, well, IMRED is one of the big exaggerators. So it's spectacular, and they're also the ones who use a lot of 10 amp batteries that are rated 30 amp, things like that. Anything over 3000 mAh can't be rated over 10 amps, so it gets real easy. Over 3000 mAh can't be over 10 amps. Yeah, it's. I should be paying them a visit soon. It's been a while since I tested this stuff. Kenny B, what other non-vaping YouTuber do you enjoy? AVE, yes, I enjoy him. Big Clive, I enjoy too. I enjoy that he gets a drink in his videos. Let's see, non-vaping YouTubers. Who else? Linus Tech Tips. Who's the unboxing? What's the unboxing one? I forgot. I kind of whoosh through them while I'm doing other things. Battery Mooch, what's your preferred build? Typically, I've got 3 sets of Yeti wire. Now I've got a Specialis running. Typically, I run about a 0.13 up to a 0.21, usually around a 0.17 dual fuse Claptons. So far, they've all been Yeti wire, and I enjoy that. I'll go to a round wire build in summer when I want to come down lower in voltage, parallel 26 or something like that. But if I'm running, I don't want the ramp up time or anything with the Claptons trying to run them at 55 watts. So I'll go to round wire builds for summer. But I haven't played with that in quite a while, so I'm looking forward to the warmer weather, and which will force me to lower wattages, which will force me to play with wire. Otherwise, I just come up with excuses to keep using the Claptons and dealing with the ramp up time. Teo Razor, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you very much. Brian Feeney, thank you, dude. I really appreciate that donation. Wow, thank you. Mooch, we couldn't do it without you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. John Fox, 10 quid. Dude, thanks, Mooch, for all you do. Thank you. This is incredible. I think the donations so far with the live feed have paid for almost all the custom cut plywood, power strips, and cabling and connectors that I had to buy for the new test station. So that's been awesome. And it's one of the reasons that's let me go into pulling the station apart and getting ready to run some high current wiring with using, going to different sets of connectors, and as opposed to, well, I may use power poles too, but using Neutrik power cons and maybe some XLRs for using cables like this for up to about 5 amps, and then going to the XLR connections and stuff like that for things. So I'm kind of looking around just to make it easier for me for like charger testing when they have the battery simulators and I have like 8 channels of simulated batteries, and just being able to put them into a charger and hit a button, and 60 seconds later I can log the whole profile because the battery will charge in 60 seconds and be able to test the charges. So future long-term kind of things that I'm thinking about with the testing station now that the equipment has enabled me to be able to do this kind of testing. Let's see. Tobias Ripper, Battery Mooch, what would the term deflagration, I must be exhausted, that's a word I've used before, apply to happen in the thermal runaway event? Technically, I don't know what that means, but casually, I'd say that's pretty close. Thermal runaway is the utter and complete catastrophic self-decomposition of a battery through exothermic electrochemical reactions. You've got, a little tiny part of a battery, hot spots. Now it starts to decompose, which creates heat for that particular decomposition, which will bring up another part of the battery above the thermal runaway temperature, the threshold temperature, which will now start a exothermic chemical reaction, which spreads, but it spreads really fast. Think about, like igniting gunpowder. That's burning, that's not an explosion, but look how fast it goes. And if you contain it, you get an explosion. So it could be, but I don't know technically what the term means. I just know it's a really bad, fast fire kind of event. William Liegenberg, never doubt what you do. I'm in South Africa. Yes, I even reach people here. Awesome, thank you. You're even using descriptions of batteries on the major vape sites here. Well, that's terrifying. But cool, thank you, sir. Gregory Heron, thank you for all you do. We appreciate you greatly. Keep up the good work. Anyway, you could throw up a few charges. There's one you know are good and reliable. Well, first, thank you very much. Second, sorry, none. I just don't know. I use power supplies, constant current, constant voltage power supplies for my charging. I have 5 of them there. I do have some Luke V4s I do for like when I get new cells in, I just toss them all in there. But I think they're better chargers there because I think we should all be buying chargers that show the capacity. I like the Luke V4s because I can run, 4 at 1 amp or a pair, 2 amps, and that's really handy. Excuse me. So I like being able to do that, but I think everyone should get a charger which shows capacity. It gives you a real good idea if something's wrong somewhere or when your batteries are going, but I just don't have any recommendations yet. JTH Reviews, thank you, sir. Thank you. Very kind words. Let's see, we're getting closer to the end. I'm going to try to catch up here because I'm 15 minutes behind. Do you get annoyed when people keep asking questions? This is Simon G. Keep asking questions that you previously answered, explained in great detail in the previous videos. You have the patience of a saint. Thank you. You do need patience. You do need to understand this is a long-term commitment to education. Not just throwing out info and saying everyone should know this, but saying the community needs to fundamentally change its level of knowledge because our safety depends on it. The degree of regulation that's going to be slammed on us depends on it. Underwriter's Laboratories is writing safety standards for hardware. The FDA is looking at regulating batteries. The worst in terms of hardware is yet to come by a long shot. So when I first started doing some of this out of anger at the exaggerated ratings, which is where I first started, I also said, you know, I'm not trying to teach the community how to do things, but I have a 5-year plan to just expose everybody as to what's going on out there. And you can say, okay, or you can go, what an idiot that Mooch is. Some people take it and some people don't. But yeah, it can be, you know, about the 30th time someone says, you know, what's the best battery for a mech? When I'm answering the 150, 200 questions or so a day that I get, you're kind of like, ah. But you can't take it out on that person because they've only asked me once. And that's really, really important. You see so many people online are like, God damn it, just go here, just do that, da 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 da, because they're tired of answering the questions. Well, that's unfair because that person's only asked it once. I feel it's unfair. And I feel it's better to just say nothing, step back, have a vape, grab a coffee, grab a scotch, you know, and then when I'm not frustrated, then I can go back and answer the question because now I can be fair to them. And I try to point them to the tools and the tables that will let them answer their own questions in the future. And I think that's critical because then they're not asking me. But so they don't have to wait and they learn more. Divine Destroyed. I am looking for a regulated mod with bypass. Do I have a recommendation? Sorry, none. Whooshing down. Cortland Olson. I'm really looking forward to seeing the results of the long-term 3000 mod battery shootout. Yeah, I had to stop that when I was doing the testing station. It's been 2 weeks of no life cycle testing, but I will be going back into that. When do we get to see the results? At least a couple of months, at least. If it's summer, don't be surprised. Because it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to do anyway. Thomas Stover, you came in late, maybe you missed it. Why are you vaping in your office? I should make, no, okay, I'll tell you. Equipment's off. I'm taking measurements actually for some high current wiring runs. So the equipment's off, so I can vape, though the equipment is here. But of course it means I'm not testing for like 4 days. Not so scrawny Connie. Battery Mooch. Is the Samsung 48G 2100 in a mech? Any battery is okay in any mod as long as it fits and the current rating for the battery is appropriate for the way you vape. The 48G is a 10 amp battery, so run your Ohm's law equation. As long as you're drawing less than 10 amps, that's an okay battery. I think that'll be a pretty lousy vape in a mech though. Costello West, donation $15. Thank you very much for your kind words. I appreciate that. Thank you. Dave Bowl. Is there a charger that you'd recommend? No charger that I would recommend one better than the other. Not yet. I hope to start charger testing sometime this year. But right now, just no time. It's a huge rabbit hole to start into. And I don't want to get into it until I have the equipment to do it. Testing station's a good start. There's other stuff I need. But I actually have a post about this soon. Or a video, excuse me. Akel, would charging a lithium-ion battery at 3 amps cause extensive damage? Fundamentally depends on the battery. Check my links, Facebook page, my blog at ECF. I have a charging rates table. You can look up from the data sheets of the batteries, the standard charge rate, the rapid charge rate, which damages them, but not really badly. And I'd recommend not going over the fast or rapid charge rate of any battery. Some of them can take 3 amps. Some of them can take 4, 6 amps. I think the VTC5A has a rapid charge rate of, 6 amps? I do not recommend that. Mike Sem, I've got an Addy triple with a problem. A 0.18 build can suddenly vary up to 0.49. The vape gets extremely hot. I don't use the Addy, but can't figure out what's going on. It could be your connections. If the resistance goes up, it's not hot spotting or connecting. Don't know. It could be the Addy, it could be connections, it could be the mod. Sorry. Tony Mitchell, best place to recycle batteries. You check your local municipality if you're out in an urban area, excuse me, suburban area, rural area. If you're in a city, Best Buy, Home Depot, Lowe's, you can double check with them to be sure. Most of the major electronics chains and home improvement stores have battery recycling bins inside. Put some tape over the positive end. Vaping Bachelor, I've always charged my batteries at 1 amp. Would it hurt to start charging 2 amps? Check that chart that I mentioned. Because it depends on the battery. You know, 10 amp battery, do not charge at 2 amps. Michael Cunningham, some heroes don't wear capes, but they do vape. They certainly do. And we're lucky. This community has got a good pile of heroes. Some people really care and have really made a difference in terms of education and efforts in the for the sake of the community. And there's some very cool people out there. Pitar M, I've been using my 25 hours for 3 years, under 60 watts, haven't noticed any capacity loss, don't get hot, says they're too old and I need new ones. A shop says that. I wonder if they sell 25 hours. I'm teasing. There's no need to replace them. Probably around 3 years maybe is to think about it, but there's nothing inherent in the age of a battery that's a problem. It's the performance, if it's getting hot, things like that. You don't need to change it if there's no big issues there. Keep the wraps in perfect condition. Make sure the rings are up on top are still in perfect condition. But otherwise, change them when they start to piss you off. I've had lithium-ion batteries 9 years, 10 years. So, yeah, I'm not using them hard, but there's no reason they have to be replaced. Divine Destroyed. I'm looking for a regulated mod with bypass mode. I answered that previously. Sorry, I have no recommendations. And I answered that previously. Sorry, no recommendations. And I answered that previously. Sorry. Very hot. Whoa! Thank you so much. That's an incredible donation. Thank you. Thank you for making battery safety sexy. Aw, thank you. Much vapor love. Barry. Barry, thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Kevin Ball. Have you also looked into speak-on connectors as well? Neutrix? If it's a Neutric, I rejected it for some reason. It didn't fit something, but it sounds like a Neutric. But I looked at like hundreds of connectors, so all kind of blurred together. The ones that I didn't pick, there's no room in my brain to keep those. Jeremy, have you checked out Morton Owen's scientific approach to vape experiments? Yes, I recommended him earlier. Everyone subscribe to Morton Owen, M-O-R-T-O-N space O-E-N. Tech heavy, but good stuff. He understands it, and as he says it, he's there so you don't have to be. Cortland Olson, thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Here's to more of the amazing tests you do. Thank you. Okay, we're about done. No more questions, please. I'm just going to catch up with what I have here. Dave Bowl, I have a mech and the battery ports are really tight when putting the battery ports are really tight when putting the battery in. Is that not good because the batteries need some room to breathe? Batteries don't need any room to breathe. Just make sure the wrap is not being torn. There's no expansion and contraction you have to deal with. Tight is okay, but not if it's eroding, wearing away the wrap or tearing the wraps. Marty, oh boy, when rotating through batteries, is it better to leave them fully charged or discharged when they're waiting for the next rotation? It depends. If it's a couple of weeks, leave them half charged. Otherwise, you know what? If you're bringing them down to 2.8, 3.2 volts, as you mentioned, I think it's better just to charge them up on there, because then there's just no accidents if you forget to charge them or they don't get rotated through for a while. They're not sitting down at a low voltage, discharging from 2.8 down to 2.5 or lower. So I'd say charge them. Blaine Thomason, my buddy was hitting his mech mod and it shocked him through the switch. I immediately made him take the battery out, recommending not to use the mod anymore. I've heard that before. I don't know what's causing it. I don't know if it's particular sensitivity or it's something they're connecting, but I've never had it happen to me, and I've never seen a good enough description of what's going on with pictures inside and outside of the mod to me go, oh, I can see the circuit path that put 4 volts through you. But, you know, it can't be any more than 4.2 volts shocking you. So I don't know what's going on and what's causing that. And, oh, there are a couple more. No more questions? What is the best way to store batteries that are not being used? In a non-conductive container, room temperature, no vibration, don't drop them. I have one of my Minding Your Ma series videos is about extending the life of your batteries. You can check that out. Episode, I don't remember. Tim Adaris, how long do you think you could store an internal battery mod? I spoke about this earlier. It could be a month, it could be years. Thought on the 3100 mAh, 35 amp, VAP cell 2100. Gurmasindo, Chipoyo, check the links only because I'm zooming through things. I don't remember the test results on that, if you're talking a gold one or a purple one. If it's the gold one I'm thinking of, it's a damn good cell, better than the VTC 5A, better than the 5-leg iJoy. Oh wait, that was a 2700. I may not have tested it. Check my tables. Sorry. They really do blur together. I'm up at over 250. It gets hard to remember the details sometimes. Pure heroin. You took 18650s from a laptop. They're terrible. Who would have guessed? Yeah. And RGE Acme, place positive towards venting or the 510. I follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Honestly. Yeah, there are advantages and disadvantages to both. So I'm always going to default to what the manufacturer recommends. And your mod's going to explode. If it explodes, it's explode this way. What comes out of the ports is away from your face anyway. If the ports are up here, it's still away from your face. The ports are down here. Now, there's some arguments. The battery swells, it blocks access to the ports, but I don't know if venting ports can prevent thermal runaway anyway. There are too many unknowns. That's why I always say default to what the manufacturer says. I'd like to look into it more, but that kind of destructive testing is expensive and dangerous, and I won't be doing it. And Tim Adaris will be the last one. Thanks, joined late. Tim, welcome. Whoa, before I drop everything. Thank you, everybody. Hour and 10 minutes. I think it's time to call it an evening. Appreciate you coming by. Thank you for the questions. And thank you for your support and incredible donations. Thank you. Thank you. Right now, YouTube doesn't let me withdraw it, so it's just building up because I haven't monetized my channel yet after 3+ months, but they're supposed to be doing that by the end of April, and it'll all be released, and I can pay off the credit cards for what's built here, and I'll just put those coffees and pastries on the credit card from, I forgot to put in that $20 towards coffee, but I can put that on the credit card. But thank you for all of it, and thank you for your support. Thank you for showing up tonight. And because I have a tablet here, and I'm using the camera on the other side, I actually have to walk off screen to stop the stream, but thank you for watching. If I can figure out, this new clamp is not letting me access anything. There it is. Good night, all.